Hi, beautiful people. How are you? My name is Connor.
And I'm Brittany.
And today we want to talk about how encouraging freedom can avoid rebellion. Our membership site is growing and we want you to be a part of it.
We have over 100 videos, so many exercises, tons of ways for you to learn, grow, heal, and inspire with us.
Come on over and see what it's all about. Our child is 9.5 months now, and how at these very early stages in their life, we really want to start a relationship with them and develop and encourage and sustain a relationship with them based in as much freedom and autonomy as possible, so that we don't get to a point where they have to take that freedom for themselves. And if you are like me, I don't know how much you would say you
I would
fall
think
in that
like
category.
me as well, yes, for sure.
You know, we often hit generally puberty a little bit after that and then say like, F you, everybody, I am an individual.
Yeah.
And we have to reclaim our freedom because it wasn't really encouraged in us at our early ages.
Yeah, and I wonder if we ever do.
Fully like bring that freedom in.
Yeah.
I think for many of us, we keep seeking that and we keep putting ourselves in places of submission and then rebelling against that, and it shows up in our workplace or in our relationships. And yeah, it's a big deal, and it makes a lot of sense because we are free beings and we want to be free.
One way I've noticed this showing up recently, or like our natural freedom, which I think is really innate within us. We are autonomous beings. We're our own beings here with our own purpose. And I love being Ilya's, I think about it sometimes as their chaperone.
Yeah, I love that term.
Because I feel like I'm here kind of like holding space and just using my intuition to see when they need me, like when they actually need me to help support them, and encouraging them by being supportive to explore their natural curiosity. Ilya is such a curious being, like all of us are, and they're so tapped into their flow. And a lot of my day is spent just kind of like being aware of their flow and watching it happen. And it's the most amazing thing to see like what they're into, what they're going to, what they're kind of like moving between.
That thing, back to this thing, over here.
And I notice if I interrupt their flow, like sometimes it'll come up because I'll have an idea and I'll be like, oh, like Ilya, this thing. And sometimes they get really excited about it. And sometimes they're like, no, like I'm doing this thing. And that's a good place for me to tap into my intuition and just offer things when I feel really inspired. And also sometimes it comes up because like we're walking around and I'll be like, oh, I really need to go to the bathroom, and I'll start to go that way, and Illy wants to go this other way to go play with something else. And so I found fun ways in those spaces to get both of our needs met by like checking in with Ilya, letting them know, doing it more gently. That's been really helpful lately, like not just picking them up and taking them to the bathroom, but like checking in and saying, Illy, like I have to pee. Will you go this way with me? Or like, would it be more fun if like we bring this box this way? They've been pushing this big box around, so then it can be something that they're enjoying. I think that we are meant to have this curiosity to explore the world and understand it, especially to see what the adults around us are doing and how we can do things like that. Because that's like we're always becoming more. And when we squash that desire in children by just, I think, not tuning in to what their purpose is and recognizing like this child is very much doing big things right now. They're not just like moving this top around like there's no purpose. They're very purposeful. And honoring that and recognizing that and seeing that as important as the tasks that we're doing for our daily lives. Wow, what a shift in focus. And to recognize like it would be so weird if like I was doing something and you picked me up and moved me to the other side of the house. I think I'd laugh first, but if you kept doing it, I think I would scream.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and so I think in this discussion, you know, talking about how to help your very young human in your life be free, there's a pushback, which is like, well, you're just gonna let them do anything?
Right.
And no, but also, you know, the idea of let them even is
Right.
something that is like a concept that we're thinking a lot about, because we want them to feel like they can do anything they want to do. It's their body, their
Yes.
soul, their freedom, their autonomy, their individuality. But like this word chaperone is so great because, you know, for example, here's a concrete example. We have this shelf with a Berkey filter on top of it and a whole bunch of mason jars that we use to fill up water. And now that Ilya started crawling and being mobile, they're using that shelf a lot to help pull themselves up and stand. So of course there's all these glasses right there, right at arm's reach. And rather than every time they go to those glasses, just picking them up and moving them, picking them up and moving them, picking them up and moving them, we have let them stand there. I mean, let, again, is an interesting word,
Right.
but we're sort of like, we're aware that the glasses are there. We're aware that there's an interaction about to happen. And we've been using this word gentle. And so sort of letting them know a little bit about their environment that they're in right now. And they know the word now.
Yeah.
And so we've shown them what gentle looks like. Touching the glass gently, but not pushing the glass or pulling the glass, dropping the glass on the ground. And there are times when gentle, they're still gonna do their own thing. And so, you know, there's this beautiful balance between being there so that glass doesn't break and harm them, but also allowing them to experience the glass in a way that makes sense to them. And I think that this is a really beautiful piece to be paying attention to, because our natural role as caregivers to young ones is to protect them up to a certain extent. And we also need to, I think, have a lot more consciousness around their freedom, because we have not been generally modeled that, and certainly our society isn't one that really encourages freedom. We have a lot of systems in place that kind of encourage submission. Yes. And so to find that balance, we may have to attune a lot more to the freedom side of things, because our natural inclination in our cultural model is to mold others and to force others to do what we want to do, what we assume is best for them. So no, we're not going to just like let them, you know, fall off a cliff and be like, well, that was their, you know, but there is a balance between exploring the cliffside in a safe way where we can be there and take care of them in a way that makes sense naturally, and also encourage this really important piece of curiosity.
Yes, and I think a big piece of this is trust in their innate abilities and their intelligence.
Yeah.
And trust as a human species. And I think a lot of what we have set up in our society in this way that can encourage submission is based in the idea that we can't take care of ourselves and that we don't have great instincts.
Right.
And a lot of language I hear used by parents is like careful, or watch out, or you're going to fall and break your neck, or if you do that you're going to. And it's telling people what their experience is going to be, and it's encouraging fear, as opposed to, you know, saying like,
you got this,
or like, oh, so great that you stood up, and then like gentle with the glasses. You know, and we have salt lamps around the house. I know we've mentioned this before, and they get hot, and so we've told Ilya like, that's hot, and I show them like with my hand that like I can just tap it and then it's hot. And Illy's so sweet, they
totally get it.
They do the same thing.
They just touch it, and then, you know, they get to determine like, is it too hot? And it's not so hot that it's going to burn anyone, but you know, it's warmer than other things. And so yeah, just to give them those clues about their environment. And I love this other piece that comes to mind about giving clues to the environment is like later on down the road, Dana Martin has mentioned this in a podcast, I think.
She's a badass person.
Yeah, and she's raised her children with a very freedom-based model, and I think it's absolutely beautiful. And one thing she was talking about is like to let your children know what kind of environment you're going into, because children don't want to necessarily create an awkward situation for themselves. So for example, you know, if you're going to the grocery store, that's a little bit different than if you're going to the skating ring. You know, the skating ring, you can get in there, you can scream, you can yell, you can dance around on your skates.
Totally.
In the grocery store, most people don't do that. Most people are a little more reserved and they're just doing their shopping. And so you can let them know, like, hey, this is what most people do in the grocery store. I think I'm probably going to do this kind of thing. And, you know, just to let you know. And then leave it at that. And I love that. I love that because it's like, they get to decide, your child gets to decide how they want to interact with the world. And I think as adults, oftentimes we feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And so we want our children, we want to mold them into a place that feels more comfortable for us.
Yeah.
And what you were talking about is fear, you know, we fear that they're going to hurt themselves. And that totally makes sense. And I also think that sometimes our fears and anxieties, they're really more ours. And it's important for us to sort of take care of those fears and anxieties. And yeah, to look at those messages and see, like, is this in fact an area where I do need to chaperone more? Can I be there more in a helpful and constructive way while still encouraging curiosity? But like, we were at the water the other day, and this what was she, 2 years old or something? She's just kind of walking around and she's just chilling. And the mom was just constantly saying, be careful, be careful, be careful. And I don't see how that is helpful for a child to hear that on a repetitive basis. I mean, because I think what the mother wanted is to feel more relaxed in her own system and to believe that her child was aware. And I think that her child was aware. Yeah. And hearing the be careful a lot, I think, can become kind of an anxious, embedded thought. And then when we get older, it can be this feeling that comes up for us when we're about to do something, and then we pull back.
Yeah, another thing that could be said in a situation like that is, oh, you're doing such a great job navigating those slippery rocks.
Totally, like, right. So again...
So it lets them know, like, this clue about their environment, and which they've probably already noticed, and letting them know they're doing a great job.
Yeah. And, yeah.
No, sorry, keep going.
Well, just to say that, you know, we love making videos and sharing our experiences, and we do a lot of thinking on these topics and a lot of experiential play with these topics before presenting them. And we also know that many of us, maybe this is like a first time thought. And so we never want to, you know, give information as a way of saying you're doing it wrong or someone did it wrong to you. It's really about, here's what we're noticing and here's what's feeling important to us right now. And not an assumption that this is the end-all be-all of how to live life or how to do things.
Yeah, definitely like that. I like that, and this video is all about freedom. So really the freedom to think and feel how you do. And yeah, there's one other thing I wanted to mention, which is that in terms of environment, I think that there's a nice balance we can have between, for example, with the glasses, encouraging Illy to be gentle with the glasses, and then also not having a house set up where we're constantly not having to stop them, but check in this way where they can't experience as much freedom. So most of our house is set up so that they can really explore and move things and throw things around and stand up on lots of spaces that are really innately more like safe and kid-friendly. And then they have these areas where we can grow and teach them about different items they're interacting with.
Totally.
And having that balance feels really good for me, to know that I don't have to like get up and like be right there and make sure that they're safe the whole time, and they don't have to feel that like being like stopped or having me nearby in their flow all the time. They can really experience a lot of autonomy and navigate how much they want by like moving away from me or us on their own and coming back, which I think is a really natural experience for children and really helps them sort of see physically and emotionally how much they're ready to separate from us in this way that has encouraged really healthy attachment.
Exactly. And so our assumption here is as they grow older, that freedom is still going to be something that we're focused a lot on, and that we can be allies to them, that they don't have to push us away in order to harness their freedom. And through that, they will always have people with a lot of life experience that they can sort of run some stuff by, like, hey, I'm thinking about this thing, what do you guys think about that? And not keep secrets and not have fears of sharing, that they're going to be shamed or told that they can't do something. And again, not that things couldn't come up for us, like, oh gosh, I don't know, that sounds really scary.
Yeah.
That makes sense. But maybe even to be able to communicate that, like, wow, I noticed as you share that, like, yeah, I do have fear around that. And also, here's why, not just no, and to move their body, or to try to shame them or coerce them with force or timeouts or some other stuff like that, which ultimately I think really represses our passion and our will to live and our natural curiosities, and then we have to swing the pendulum the other way. And we either get locked into a role of submission or locked into a role of rebellion, or more uncomfortably, we have this polarization within us all the time. And so it just feels like we have these two camps fighting each other throughout our lives.
Yeah, and I love this idea and this feeling I deeply have, which is like, I can be right and you can be right too. And that they both exist in harmony beautifully.
Yeah.
And every relationship is a negotiation, including ones with really young beings.
Yeah.
And checking in and validating and hearing each other and being able to emote without putting it on each other is so healing. And I actually think there's nothing to do. Like, there's nothing we need to really figure out. Just following our natural instincts, allowing our emotions to flow, having compassionate communication, showing up with unconditional love and support for each other, everything flows. Everything really works out. And I think the recognition that we don't want to dominate others in this way really comes to the surface when we are practicing this unconditional love and support and compassionate communication.
Absolutely. Love that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I love this topic.
Love it so much. Clearly, we're at minute 17. And I
wow.
feel like we could just keep going.
This is great.
Yeah, so anyway, we appreciate you receiving this information, receiving our experience. Definitely would love to hear your experience in the comments. If you have any questions for us, we've just created a question page on our website, and we will link that in the description box, so you can send us a personalized question, and it will be assumed private unless you want it to be shared as, like you wrote it. So it's a great place to interact with us and share your questions.
Thank you so much. Sending you tons of love.